I'd like to sing a song for you this morning that I wrote myself, and I really wish there was a drum kit up here jamming behind me because it brings a whole new feel to this. So I'm going to ask you all to use your imaginations with me, and when you hear that beat, just let that drum kit in the back of your little brain fill in all the gaps. Thanks. Every thought begins with love, love, love. Inspiration drives my passion when I breathe you. Fill me deep and make me stronger. Fly me higher, build me taller. Set me free, let me fly. It's time to fly. Oh, when I stop and start from right where I stand, take a deep breath in and let my world expand. Let the fear and worry fall away. Listen to that still small voice say, fill me deeper, make me stronger. Fly me higher, build me taller. Set me free, let me fly. It's time to fly.
So I have been in training with Jack Canfield. If you don't know who he was, he wrote the Chicken of the Soul books, and then he started a training program, and I decided to get into that. He always starts off with a cartoon because how he explained it to us is laughter releases endorphins in your head. And when the endorphins have been released, then you're more open to receiving. And so I normally don't do this, but I saw this one and I loved it because I think that we can all understand this one. And so I'll describe it to you as there's 3 numbers, and they're sitting in a bar, because that's what numbers do. They sit in a bar. And 13 says to the other 2, I am the worst number in the whole world. And 666 looks at him and goes, oh, honey, come on. And then 2020 said, give me a beer. Kind of what we've lived through, isn't it? So Michael Beckwith, who used to be part of Centers for Spiritual Living, he has a center called Agape in Los Angeles, and he still speaks and talks exactly like we do. He just separated and started his own group. He says we are either pushed by fear or we are pulled by vision. And so if you haven't noticed, because we've had a couple of things thrown in, that we have been going through each week a piece of the visioning process. The first week we actually visioned. Last week we talked about release and let go. And so the third question is, what do I have to embrace? What do I have to become to manifest this vision? And what I was thinking is, it's not just about vision, right? We are given the opportunity almost every day of our life to look at change. And as we look at it, we get to decide, am I going to embrace that change? Or am I going to go kicking and screaming, saying, I don't want to do this? And so the idea for embracing is life happens. It happens to every single one of us. And as it happens, we can push up against life and say, no, I'm not going to do that. And life has a way of going, yeah, come on. Yes, you are. Right? Yes, you are. Come with me. Now, some changes we can pick for ourselves. We can move. That's a personal decision. I'm talking about big things in life. You know, losing a friend to death. Big change. And what I need to decide is, how do I embrace that? How do I embrace that experience? Because now it's part of me, just like she was part of me, Carol Batt, before she left, right? How do we embrace those things in our life? People here have gone through divorce or breakups with significant others. They've lost jobs. They've gone to new jobs. All of that change. And life is calling us all the time to say, can you embrace it? And what I know in my life, I don't know about yours, however, in my life, when I am given an opportunity by the divine to embrace something and I refuse to embrace it, then they hit me with a 2x4 and pull me along and say, yeah, this is not a choice really. Yes, you have free will. Yes, you can choose. And eventually you're going to wake up and come along. So I've kind of decided not to fight so much when stuff shows up in my life. And then once we have embraced something, then you get to go deeper, right? Embracing's just the first step. Now you get to embody that change. How am I going to live my life without my best friend in it? How do I do that? How do I embrace this experience? Because it's a reality. I can't change it. It is a reality of my life going forward that she's not here. And yet I have to embrace that, or embody that, as part of who I am and how I live my daily life now. Honoring her, having conversations with her, laughing with her. And if you haven't had that experience, if you've had somebody in your life, and I think probably everybody in this room has, that has left this realm and gone on to the next, I encourage you to sit sometimes in silence and just be. Because I believe those people talk to us. And then in the third step of this process is, how do I become? I've embodied this. Remember, there's that in the 4 things of consciousness. The last one is not God through me, which I always thought it was until I really paid attention. It's not God through me. It's God as me. That's when you become God as me. How do I become? How do I open up my heart more? How do I live more freely? How do I honor this person or my parents or my brother? How do I become those things that those people, those gifts that those people gave me? And so I want to take you on a little trip, if you will, with me. And so I want you to go back to March 2020. Paul and I, fortunately, the first week of March, we were in Sun Peak skiing. It was fabulous. It was sunny when we skied. We woke up and it was snowing one morning. I don't ski when it's snowing. I'm not that good. Fortunately, we didn't have a ticket that day. But it was magical. And yet, every time we turned on the TV, there was news about something that was happening in the world. They hadn't even really named it yet the first week of March. There was concern, especially here in the Washington area, because we were the first ones that got recognized as there's something happening, right? So we kept waiting, like, what is it? Do we need to be concerned? Well, at the time, there was no concern about getting home because the borders weren't closed. And in that opportunity, I reached out to Christine S. and said, here's what's happening at the center. I don't know if you remember back to March. We also had a community meeting in March. And we weren't doing well financially. At no fault of anybody's, we were not doing well at that time. We always got things paid, and yet we were always in the red. And that is really not financially healthy when you do that. And so we had to tell the Board of Trustees and myself, Colleen Brady was the president at the time, we had to tell the community, we're sorry. We are going to have to let go of the highly unusual suspects. And there was a lot of pain associated with that decision for the board members, for the community when they heard it. And what I thought was, I wonder if Christine S. would fill that gap for us. I wonder if she would be willing for a year to come in and be our musical director and support us, because I knew that the community loved her. And I knew because they loved her, the transition would be easier. And of course, because we all know her consciousness, she had to take it into prayer. And then she called me back, and I remember sitting outside. Paul was in one of the shops looking for a t-shirt or ski hats or something, and I'm sitting outside in the snow, talking to her in this chair, watching people go by. And it was magical, and she ended up saying yes. That she would be more than happy to step in and be our music director. So that really was the embracing, right? That was all of us embracing the change that Genesis needed to go through. And I want you to remember that was before we had to go into lockdown. It's hard to believe, isn't it? It's really hard to believe that we all got to sit there with each other. You know, no 6-foot distancing, no masks. We got to sit with each other. We got to answer questions. We got to process what was happening with our community. Oh, and thank you, Gemma. It's like, what does this mean? We got to hug. We got to kiss, for crying out loud. Lots of things we got to do that someday we'll get to do again, just not today. And so that really was about, okay, we're going to embrace this change. And then the next week, none of you could come to church unless you were supportive staff. And so what the governor had said is you can have essential staff. And this was from March until about May, I think. So there were about 9 of us every single Sunday. I don't know about you, but talking to 9 people, it was different. It was really different. It was not only different, we had set the camera up so I would look over towards the camera when I was on stage, which meant that, you know, if there were any essential staff there, I wasn't looking at them. I was looking dead on into the camera. It was a different experience for me. I celebrated 10 years of being a minister in September, so I'd done 9.5 years. I can't imagine ministers that have 20 years of leading a community, how this might have affected them. And what we knew was this is life, right? So every single one of us, not only as a church community, every single one of us in our personal life had to start embracing and embodying what was happening. Christine S. is lucky. I don't know if you know this, but she has like 9 people living in her house. So, 7. But at the time, didn't you have 9? Oh, okay, just the 7. She has a large family. 7 today is a large family. And yet some people, Cynthia Zink for example, Jim Munson, they were totally by themselves unless they were in essential service and they could go out and work. And so to just realize that as we moved into embodying, what did that mean? And as we started to embody it, was it something that any of us signed up for? Did anybody here go, oh yeah, I want to live through a pandemic. That'll be fun, right? And yet what I know about the human spirit is, look at us. Now, there are those that aren't with us today for one reason or another, because of this global reset or not, that aren't with us today. However, if you can hear my voice, you're with us and you lived through that. And give yourself a high five, because you can't give it to anybody else. Well, Courtney and Bernie can give it to each other, and Anna and Cal can give it to each other, right? That was starting to embody, this is my reality. Right? This is my reality. I can choose to go to the grocery store, and if I go to the grocery store, I have to wear a mask. I have to stay 6 feet apart from each other. And if you remember, you were supposed to go up and down the aisles according to one-way streets. And you know me, I like to be the aisle police. So I'd walk by people when I was going down the proper aisle the proper way, and they'd be coming towards me, and I'd think, shouldn't be doing that. Shouldn't be doing that. That's not really embodying, is it? So what happened was I started using Instacart because I thought, I don't want that energy. And so we found ways to move through this individually and collectively. Around May, we got to open up. Wasn't a big flood coming back to church because people were still concerned. And yet we started to embody what was going on and how we were going to live and be through this together and individually. One of the things that I'll share with you that I don't think I shared last week, and it breaks my heart. Carol was so excited to get that second COVID shot. She could hardly wait to go out to lunch, to be here on Sundays, because she felt safe when she got her second shot. And she got her second shot. And so, I love you, darling, and I know you're here. And I know she loves all of you, and I know in your mind, if you just picture her for a moment and love her up, because she's going to be with us forever. And then through it all, through this experience of this global reset, your board of trustees and I really got mindful about how to spend our money. And we were gifted a couple of experiences. We were gifted for 2 full months of not having to pay rent in Burien. And we put that money into savings, just so you know. And then from September to December, we were gifted a discount. And then what happened right around September, as they agreed to the discount, they also agreed to raise our rent, just so you know. And so part of being the spiritual community is, how do we move forward? And we sat with it and we discussed it, and it was hard to plan to move out of someplace into someplace else, because we don't know what that looks like yet, do we? We have no idea who wants to come on Sunday, who wants to continue to watch online, whether they can, whether they have to or not. Because that's the reality. We get to choose now how we want to learn. As adults, kids don't. I mean, they're going to go back to school, and they should. But as adults, we get to decide. I just saw on CBS Sunday Morning, this morning I saw it. There's a guy that I think 3 years ago had started something called Masterclass. And at first, I thought it was Mind Valley, because Mind Valley calls some of their classes Masterclass. But this is actually a website, Masterclass. Costs you $185 a year. And then you are taught things by famous people. Helen Mirren teaching you how to act, or how she looks at a script. Singers teaching you how to sing. Gordon Ramsay teaching you how to cook. And I was like, that's brilliant. Because think about it. None of these people were doing that a year and a half ago, right? None of them were doing that. And if you wanted to be in front of Gordon Ramsay, I bet you had to pay more than $185. And so it's just how we have shifted through this whole global experience. Some of the stuff I am so over with. I don't want to wear a mask. I'm going to. I don't want to. And I'll take it off when the governor says I don't have to anymore. I want to be able to hug my friends. I want to be able to hug strangers if I want to hug strangers. And so I am excited that that's going to shift. But I am becoming somebody now, like all of you, that we're going to be able to talk about and tell stories about this experience. Because it has changed every single one of our lives. And I bet when you look back at it, most of it has been for the good. You know, when I signed up for the Canfield training, I was thrilled it was online. Because if it hadn't been online, I would have had to fly to San Diego, pay for a hotel and food, plus the expense of the training. And so when they said, oh, we're sorry, the second week needs to be online, also I was like, woohoo! Now, that's not true with all all of the people taking the class. Some people dropped out. They're going to wait until they can be with Jack in person. I was like, are you kidding me? I get this training, I get it online. Do you know how much money that's going to save me? And so we are not the same people that we were in March of 2020. And so as I said, as I was sitting in Sun Peaks talking to Christine S., two things happened that I'd really forgotten about. One was that this was a year agreement between her and I. And the second thing I'd forgotten was we had made a commitment to the community that when we could financially do it, we would bring back a band. And so today, I want to focus on Christine S. Young and the heart that she has brought to this community. Now, just so you know, she's not going anywhere. She's still a community member. She's still a practitioner. And yet she's stepping away from being our spiritual director. Because that was the agreement that Christine S. and I had made. And so I would like you at this time to please welcome to the stage, so I can personally thank her, Christine S. Young. Told me when we were talking about, hang on.
Gate microphone.
Yeah, they're going to not hear me. One thing that she had thanked me for was that she had never before been given the opportunity to sing for this community. Ever. And so she said many of you had no idea that this is her passion. This is what brings her joy. This is why she gets up in the morning. Okay, family, I know it's you too. However, I know, because I talk to her once a week, this is her delight making music, as you could tell by the song she sang earlier today. And so it made me so happy that she got an opportunity to be that for all of you. Because now, if you didn't know, you now know fully who she is. What wakes her up in the morning. What makes her dance. And so, on behalf of the Board of Trustees and this community, I wanted to present you with two gifts. Well, three actually, but those are two. You're welcome. And then no woman's life is complete without flowers.
Yay. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
Stand up, people. This is Christine S. Young. Hoot and holler. I love you. So a big round of applause, please, for Christine S. Young and her daughter. And this will be her final performance, so get into the music, people. I know she'll be back as a guest musician sometime in the future. So please welcome Christine S. Young. And what's your daughter's name? Jessica. Jessica Young.
I can hear you. We're gonna need a different track.
Some of the trouble.
This one doesn't need us. I can hear you, but I won't. Some look for trouble while others don't. There's 1,000 reasons I should go about my day and ignore your whispers, which I wish would go away. Oh. Oh. You're not a voice. You're just a ringing in my ear, and if I heard you, which I don't, I'm spoken for, I fear. Everyone I've ever loved is here within these walls. I'm sorry, secret siren, but I'm blocking out your call. I've had my adventure, I don't need something new. I'm afraid of what I'm risking if I follow you into the unknown. Into the unknown, into the unknown. What do you want? 'Cause you've been keeping me awake. Are you here to distract me or make a big mistake? Or are you someone out there, a little bit like me, who knows deep down I'm not where I'm meant to be? Every day's a little harder as I feel my power grow. Don't you know there's a part of me that longs to go into the unknown, into the unknown. Into the unknown. Oh, are you out there? Can you see me? Can you know me? Can you feel me? Where are you going? Don't leave me alone. How do I